Good evening, everybody. I'm Congressman Jim Himes, and tonight is the State of the Union address. Joe Biden will address the nation, address the Congress, and as a member of Congress, I have the right to invite one guest to this remarkable speech, and I've invited Mark Jaffe, who is a friend of longstanding, and he runs an absolutely premier early childhood education group called CLC in southwestern Connecticut, which is doing just incredible work. And I'll tell you, apart from being friends with Mark and wanting to highlight the importance of early childhood education, when I was chairman of the Economic Disparity Committee, I came to realize that, maybe if I had one thing to do to address economic disparity in this country, I would make sure that we were doing a lot more to support organizations like CLC and the mission of making sure that every child everywhere has a good start in life. I mean, it was really kind of the key conclusion of this report. So, Mark, I'm so glad you're here. You do this every single day. Why is early childhood education so important?
Well, I think there are two reasons, two big buckets. One is around the child themselves. 90% of our brain is developed by the time we're 5 years old. So if we think about that, and we think about the return on investment around early childhood education, the data is very clear, and it's based on 30 years of longitudinal studies that say if a child gets a quality early childhood education, they are more likely to read at third grade at reading level. They're more likely to graduate high school, get a better job, be a better wage earner. They'll be healthier. They'll be less likely to get caught up in the criminal justice system. So the return on investment is huge in support of early childhood education. The second bucket, which is also critical, and I think we've seen the impact from COVID, is on the workforce. Parents can't go back to work if they don't have a quality, safe environment for their children to spend their days.
Yeah, absolutely. And, on your first bucket, there's a real moral draw to this issue. I don't care where you are on the political spectrum, I think you believe that most kids should start out on a level playing field, that no kid should at age 3 be way behind another American kid just because the zip code they were born into. Sometimes I can appeal to people, though, by making the point that pretty much every other industrialized country, our competitors, our economic competitors, Great Britain, Taiwan, Korea, France, Germany, are investing on a dollar per child basis a lot more in their kids than we are. And what do you think that means for our ability to stay as a leader in innovation, et cetera? I mean, I think that's another piece here, right? This is a competitive world, and we need our workforce to be as sharp as possible.
I think that's a big piece. I think that we will not be able to be competitive in a global environment if we don't invest more significantly in early childhood education. And you mentioned these other countries. We're not only last, we're last by a lot, and that's not smart, and it's not sustainable. Agreed.
Okay, last question. You're here in the Congress of the United States, big federal budget. I know enough about what you do to know that your funds come from the federal government. You get assistance often from the states, municipalities, and from philanthropy. So, two-part question. What can we do to do more? And I suspect I know what you're going to say. So say what you answer the question honestly, but then tell me something that isn't about more resources. How can we be thinking about being more efficient, about being out there in areas which maybe are hard to reach, people who are hard to reach, not just the more resources part?
Yeah, well, so early childhood education has been systemically underfunded forever. And I want to put this in perspective, and I'm going to provide blunt speak, and sometimes I get in trouble for that. Okay, but our teachers, who are predominantly women of color, although they have degrees, they are not only are they underpaid, they're underpaid again by a lot. So, and if you think about the fact that we pay the person who walks our dog more than the person who takes care of our young child, that's unacceptable. So first and foremost, I think it's resources. Now, I also want to give you a perspective, and as it relates to Connecticut, our state, we spend about $12.5 billion a year in K through 12 education. We spend about $500 million per year on 0 to 5.
Where there's huge impact.
Where there's huge. So if you look at it from a financial perspective, we're spending $500 million on 90% of the brain, and we're spending 25 times that amount on the delta 10%. And I will tell you, that just doesn't make any sense. So.
What about reaching underserved people? You got language issues, you got isolation issues.
Yeah, well, so what's interesting about CLC, for instance, is, we serve almost 1,000 kids a day, 51 weeks a year, 10 hours a day. We spend more time with your children than parents spend with their children. Our families are predominantly working class and lower income. 70% are immigrant. We have 29 languages spoken from 59 different countries. And by the way, the most recent wave of immigrants has been Ukrainians. And before that, it was Afghanis. I think, what can we provide in addition to resources? I think we need to look at the challenges around workforce, around supporting education for additional teachers, prospective teachers. I think that's a big issue. I think food. We're the largest food provider to young children, and a hungry child can't learn. And I think that we need to provide more food in support of our families as well.
Good list. I have it on good authority that the president may agree with you tonight. I can't wait to see what he says, because this needs to be said. Anyway, thank you so much. I'm just thrilled you're here.
Thank you, Congressman.